Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving right into a truly brilliant collision of two absolute titans of the tabletop world, spelling strategy and real estate capitalism. I mean, if you've ever found yourself wishing that your massive vocabulary could somehow be leveraged to buy Park Place, or that landing on Boardwalk could be softened by a perfectly timed triple word score, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today we're breaking down exactly how to play Monopoly Scrabble. We're taking the raw rules and transforming them into a clear, easy-to-follow guide so you can completely master this wild mashup.
Okay, let's dive into this agenda. It's going to clearly guide us from unboxing to absolute board domination. We'll start with setup and the main objective, move right along to how to take your turn, then hit buying and swapping tiles, tackle properties, rent, and jail, and wrap it all up with ending the game and scoring. Let's get right to it.
Before we get into the weeds, I want you to think about this number, 2,000. Now, for anyone who's ever played standard Monopoly, this number instantly sparks joy, right? Because just like in the classic game, 2,000 is exactly how much cash you collect from the bank every single time your token lands on or passes go. It's a perfect example of how this game bridges what you already know with entirely brand new mechanics. Some things never change, and man, collecting that massive payday is definitely one of them.
So, what does this all mean for our end goal? Well, the main objective of Monopoly Scrabble isn't just racking up a high score with fancy vocabulary. Your ultimate goal is to accumulate the most wealth by the end of the game. And wealth here literally means the combined total of your cash on hand plus the value of your property empire. Spelling long, impressive words isn't just about points anymore. It's actually the physical vehicle you'll use to build a sprawling real estate empire.
All right, let's get this game set up. It's a rapid-fire process, but pay attention because there are a few major twists. Step 1 is standard. Board goes in the middle, tokens start on go. Step 2 is where it gets spicy. Every player gets a rack with 7 hidden tiles drawn from the bag, just like normal Scrabble. But get this, the bank also gets a tile rack, holding 7 random tiles drawn from the bag, and these are totally visible to all players. Step 3 is funding. Each player starts with exactly 1,000 money, specifically one $500 bill and 5 $100 bills. Then you take one $500 bill from the bank and slide it right under the free parking space. Oh, and you'll also want to shuffle up those chance and community chess decks.
With the board set, who goes first? It's that simple, classic Scrabble mechanic. Everyone reaches into the bag, draws a single tile, and whoever has the letter closest to A gets the honor of kicking things off. Tie? Just draw again. And keep in mind, a blank tile is the absolute trump card here. It beats every single letter, even A. Once we've got our first player figured out, everyone just tosses those drawn tiles back into the bag, mix them up, and play proceeds clockwise.
Section 2. How to take your turn. Let's jump into the core mechanics of how a single turn actually plays out.
And this brilliantly illustrates the if this, then that progression of the game. A turn is a strict two-part combo. First up, the Scrabble phase. You simply play a word to the center of the board using totally normal Scrabble rules, and you calculate its value. Then, you instantly jump into the Monopoly phase. You take the value of that word you just scored and move your token exactly that many spaces clockwise around the edge of the board. Literally, your spelling directly fuels your physical movement.
Moving on to Section 3, buying and swapping tiles. This is where we get into the most complex, but definitely the most strategic part of the game, the tile economy.
Okay, this is where things get wildly interesting. Remember that visible tile rack the bank has? You can actually buy any of those visible letters for 100 money each. The only catch is, you absolutely must use them on the turn you buy them. Alternatively, if there's a blank tile already played on the board, and you happen to hold the physical letter that blank represents, you can pay 500 money to swap your letter for the blank. You get to put that incredibly versatile blank tile onto your own rack to use now or later. And yes, you can totally combo this. Pay 100 to buy the needed letter from the bank, and another 500 to immediately swap out a board blank, costing 600 total. But here is the massive kicker, folks. All the money spent on these actions does not go back to the bank. It gets shoved directly under the free parking space.
So, the crucial point is this: priority refill. Because the bank's rack is the absolute lifeblood of this economy, there's a strict cleanup rule. Whenever you end your turn, if you bought tiles from the bank, you must always replenish the bank's visible tile rack from the bag before you refill your own personal rack. It's super easy to forget, but it ensures the marketplace is fully stocked for the next player before you treat yourself to new tiles.
Section 4. Properties, rent, and jail. Let's shift over to the Monopoly side of the board and see how all this movement translates into real estate.
So, how do you actually get properties? Well, you don't buy them just by landing on them. Instead, you claim a property by forming a Scrabble word that physically covers one of the Monopoly property group spaces right in the center grid. If your word crosses it, you collect that property card from the bank. Or, you aggressively steal it from whoever currently owns it. But rent? Rent triggers when your token lands on the perimeter property space owned by another player. It's a really cool contrast. Your words in the center earn you the deeds, but your token's physical landing spot on the outside dictates who pays rent.
Now, this creates a fascinating dynamic, especially with unowned property spaces. I want to state this clearly, because it is a massive departure from standard Monopoly rules. If you move your token and land on a perimeter property space that nobody owns yet, absolutely nothing happens. No rent, obviously, but more importantly, you cannot purchase it. The only way to snag it is by spelling over its matching space in the center grid on a future turn.
Let's rapidly hit the special spaces scattered around the board. Land on chance or community chest? Just draw the top card, do what it says, and chuck it at the bottom of the deck. Land on advance to free parking? Move your token there instantly, but crucially, do not pass go and do not collect that 2,000. Now, when you actually land on free parking, boom, payday! You collect all that sweet tile-buying cash stashed underneath it, and the bank immediately seeds the space with a fresh 500 bill. If you land on go to jail, you go straight to in jail. On your next turn, you just pay a 100 money fine to the bank and continue normally. And if you just happen to naturally land on the jail space during regular movement, you're just visiting, so nothing happens. Of course, sometimes you land on a heavily developed property, rent is due, and your cash is basically zero. If you owe money to another player or the bank and simply can't pay, there is a built-in safety net. You can sell your hard-earned property cards back to the bank. But, ouch, you only get exactly half of their printed value. It's a painful financial hit, for sure, but it keeps you in the game when bankruptcy is staring you in the face.
Section 5, Ending the Game and Scoring. Let's move into the final phase and see how we trigger the end and tally things up.
The end of the game is triggered by some very specific conditions. First, the tile bag has to be completely empty, all letters drawn. Once that happens, the game immediately ends the exact moment one player uses the very last tile in their personal rack, or if there's a total gridlock and all possible plays have been made. Quick note here, during this final scramble, if you can't make a play but someone else still can, your turn is simply skipped while they keep going.
When that final buzzer sounds, we have some immediate bookkeeping, the unplayed tile penalty. Every player has to pay 100 money for every single unplayed letter left sitting on their rack. Normally, this cash goes straight to the bank. But if one brilliant player perfectly emptied their rack to trigger the end of the game, they are rewarded handsomely. In that scenario, all the other players have to pay their penalties directly to that winning player instead of the bank. Talk about a power move. Now, what's really interesting about this is how it all comes together for the final tally. We return to our main objective, total wealth. To find out who actually won, you calculate the final sum of all your on-hand cash and add it to the face value of all the property cards you successfully claimed. It just perfectly merges the two distinct game mechanics of spelling and real estate into one definitive score. Whoever has the highest total wealth takes the crown.
And there you have it. That is exactly how you play Monopoly Scrabble. You've now got the complete blueprint for navigating this incredibly clever mashup. It really is a game where your high-scoring vocabulary literally dictates your physical footprint on the board, and where spending cash to strategically swap tiles can be just as crucial as dodging rent. So the only question left for you is this. Will you build your empire with a massive 7-letter word, or will you go bankrupt trying to buy up the bank's vowels? Grab a copy, set up the board, and find out for yourself. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and